The late 19th century witnessed the rise of America's first documented serial killer, H. Holmes. His very existence challenged the nation's burgeoning sense of security and marked the beginning of a dark chapter in its history. Serial killers, with their seemingly ordinary exteriors, often harbor chilling secrets, and Holmes was the epitome of such deceptive normalcy. Set against the backdrop of the thriving industrial city of Chicago, Holmes's story intertwines with the grandeur of the 1893 World's Fair. This setting provided not only a stage for technological wonders but also a perfect cover for his gruesome acts. The contrast between the city's innovation and the darkness of Holmes's deeds created a sinister duality that shocked the public. Holmes's legacy is especially disturbing because of the methodical and calculated nature of his crimes. His actions were not mere acts of violence, but a series of elaborate traps set within the walls of his infamous murder castle. This introduction to his dark world sets the stage for understanding how his mind worked and the terror he instilled. Born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861, H. Holmes exhibited troubling behavior from an early age. His fascination with death and anatomy began as morbid curiosity, which later turned into manipulation and control over others. His intelligence was evident, yet it was overshadowed by his narcissistic and deceitful personality traits. Holmes capitalized on the booming urban landscape of Chicago to engineer his most notorious creation, the murder castle. This building was a labyrinthine structure with hidden rooms, secret passages and trapdoors, all designed to disorient and eventually kill his unsuspecting victims. The construction of this macabre hotel began under the guise of a hotel for the World's Fair visitors. The completion of the murder castle coincided with the commencement of the 1893 World's Fair, a time when thousands of visitors flocked to Chicago, many of whom mysteriously vanished. Holmes's ability to blend into the bustling fair environment underscored his cunning nature, and his terrifying ability to exploit the anonymity provided by the crowd. The 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, also known as the Columbian Exposition, was a breeding ground for Holmes's criminal activities. While the fair celebrated human achievement and potential, Holmes saw it as an opportunity to lure victims into his web with promises of employment or lodging. His strategic location near the fairgrounds made his hotel an ideal trap. During the fair, Holmes's charm and persuasive communication skills were his most potent weapons. He appeared as a sophisticated and trustworthy businessman, engaging with many who were new to the city and looking for opportunities. This facade of respectableness made it easy for him to attract young women, who were his primary targets. The dissonance between the fair's vision of progress and the gruesome reality of Holmes's activities represents a profound irony. The fair, a symbol of hope and future, unknowingly hosted one of the most horrific predators in American history. This stark contrast would later haunt the collective memory of the nation and challenge its optimistic view of technological and social progress. The murder castle was a three-story building with an innocuous exterior that belied its sinister interior. Designed by Holmes himself, the building was a maze of over 100 rooms with numerous trapdoors, secret passages, and soundproof chambers. Holmes's architectural design was purposefully complex to disorient and trap his victims. Inside the castle, Holmes employed various methods to kill his victims, including gas lines installed in sealed rooms and a soundproof vault where he could leave people to suffocate. The building also contained a chute that sent bodies directly to the basement, where Holmes dissected them, either selling organs and skeletons to medical institutions or disposing of them through other gruesome methods. This macabre structure stood not only as a physical manifestation of Holmes's twisted psyche, but also as a chilling symbol of how appearances can be deceiving. To outsiders, it was just another building. To Holmes, it was a deadly trap, meticulously planned and executed with precision. This duality added to the horror that unfolded within its walls. Let's take a look at Holmes's tools of terror. Holmes's methods of murder varied in creativity and cruelty, reflecting a deep-seated malice and a disturbing fascination with death. He used tailored approaches for each victim, sometimes using chloroform to incapacitate them, other times isolating them in soundproof rooms where their cries would go unheard. His methods were not only physically brutal but psychologically tormenting. In addition to physical methods, Holmes also practiced a form of psychological manipulation and torture. He often played with his victims' emotions, gaining their trust before betraying them in the most horrific ways. This psychological aspect of his crimes added an extra layer of horror, as he not only sought to kill, but to mentally torment his prey. Possibly the most disturbing aspect of Holmes's methodology was his post-mortem treatment of the bodies. His background in medicine allowed him to expertly dissect bodies, stripping them of flesh and preparing the skeletons for sale. His cold, clinical approach to these procedures spoke volumes about his detachment from human life and suffering. The victims, echoes of the lost. Holmes's victims were primarily young, single women, but his cruelty did not discriminate, as men and children also fell prey to his sinister tactics. Many of his victims were individuals drawn to the city by the opportunities promised by the World's Fair. Their disappearances often went unnoticed in the chaos of the bustling city, making them perfect targets for Holmes. The stories of the victims are heartbreakingly similar. Individuals looking for new beginnings and opportunities, trusting a man who projected charm and safety. This trust was grotesquely betrayed. The exact number of Holmes's victims remains unknown, but estimates suggest it could be anywhere from 20 to over 100. The impact of these losses rippled through families and communities, leaving a legacy of grief and injustice. The anonymity of the big city, which had promised so much hope and opportunity, instead masked the darkest deeds. These stories underscore the human cost of Holmes's crimes, highlighting the tragic end of many innocent lives. Holmes's discovery and ultimate capture, the end of the nightmare. Holmes's reign of terror concluded when a former associate, suspicious of his activities, tipped off the police. This led to an investigation that slowly unearthed the grim reality hidden within the walls of the murder castle. The discovery shocked the police and the public alike, revealing a level of premeditation and cruelty that was unprecedented. The castle itself, once investigated, revealed its gruesome secrets. Investigators found rooms outfitted with gas fixtures for asphyxiation, surgical tables, and an array of medical instruments used for dissection. The building was a testament to Holmes's meticulous planning and the depths of his depravity. Holmes was arrested in 1894, and his trial became a media spectacle. It drew national attention, not only due to the horrific nature of his crimes, but also because of Holmes's own bizarre behavior and statements during the proceedings. His capture marked the end of one of the most chilling chapters in criminal history, providing some solace to a terrified public. The trial, justice in the shadow of horror. The trial of Holmes was a complex affair, fraught with sensationalism and morbid curiosity from the public. Holmes's charismatic demeanor and articulate speech contrasted sharply with the heinous nature of his crimes, making the proceedings all the more unsettling. He was ultimately found guilty of multiple murders and sentenced to death by hanging. During the trial, Holmes confessed to numerous killings, although he frequently changed his story, which led to confusion and doubt about the true extent of his crimes. His manipulation extended even into the courtroom, playing mind games with the legal system. His lack of remorse and cold demeanor during the trial further cemented his reputation as a true monster. The outcome of the trial did little to alleviate the public's fascination with Holmes. Books, articles, and later films speculated on his motives and methods, attempting to understand how a figure so sinister could have emerged from within their society. The trial, while providing legal closure, left many questions unanswered, contributing to the enduring mystery surrounding Holmes. The psychological profile. Trying to understand the mind of a monster. Understanding Holmes involves delving into a complex psychological profile marked by narcissism, charm, and a profound lack of empathy. Holmes exhibited classic traits of a psychopathic personality, including a glib and superficial charm that allowed him to deceive and manipulate others effortlessly. Holmes's ability to compartmentalize his emotions and detach himself from his actions suggests a deep-seated psychological disorder. His meticulous planning and execution of crime show an organized mind, yet one devoid of moral compass. This duality in his personality puzzles psychologists and criminal profilers even today. The study of Holmes's psychological makeup has contributed to the field of forensic psychology, particularly in understanding how personality disorders can drive criminal behavior. His case is frequently studied as a prime example of a murderous psychopath, providing insights into the prevention and profiling of future criminals. Legacy and impact. A dark chapter in American history. The legacy of H. Holmes is a dark reminder of the capacity for evil hidden behind a facade of normalcy. His actions during the 1890s shook Chicago and the entire country, challenging perceptions of safety and the trust placed in the burgeoning urban centers. Holmes's story is a cautionary tale about the depths of human depravity. The impact of Holmes's crimes extended beyond immediate horror, influencing the fields of law enforcement and criminal psychology. His case prompted changes in police procedures and investigative techniques, particularly in how potential serial crimes were handled. The Holmes case became a benchmark for the complexity and challenge of dealing with serial killers. Holmes' lasting impact can also be seen in the cultural fascination with his life and crimes. His story has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films reflecting a continued attempt to understand and process the nature of his evil. This ongoing fascination underscores the profound effect his crimes had on American society and the perpetual human quest to understand the darkest aspects of the psyche.